What is college for in the age of AI? That was a recent article in New York Magazine. Dr. Bruce Weinstein, the ethics guy, is joining me, Jess Todtfeld, here for AI Ethics Today. We should jump right in. What do you think, Bruce? What did that
Well,
make you think?
if college is about taking in as much information as you possibly can in the shortest period of time you can, then AI would clearly have the experience hands down over human beings teaching us and the like. But let me ask you this, Jess. Think about all of the wonderful experiences you had. You went to Hofstra, right?
I did.
What were some of the highlights when you look back on your college days?
The college experience. Yes, it got me to open my mind, having debates with friends about issues as I'm starting to grow in the world, living away from home, and just the college experience of making decisions every day. So that whole experience, which is a type of learning.
What else? I mean, and what I'm asking is not necessarily about learning information, just everything, like 5 things that you remember about being in college that were emotional highlights of those 4 years.
Yeah, well, I mean, making friends, I studied film and television, having hands-on experiences, uh, uh, taking little excursions, we're not at school, thinking new thoughts. I mean, these are some of the things you hope. I have a kid who's in college right now, that you hope that they will expand their mind as opposed to necessarily just sitting in front of their computer
Yes,
and
yes.
reading.
And it's funny,
Where
you
are you
and I
going
have
with
talked
this?
a lot about how, when we attended, meetings of our speakers association, how a lot of the action was not at the speeches, but in the hallways, over a meal, walking toward a taxi, these things that you just can't get anywhere else. But even
The
even at the talks themselves,
Yeah.
think about some of the best professors you ever had, at Hofstra. Were these people who were the best at, giving you as much information as possible in an hour? Were these the best professors? Like turning it on like
Not
a fire hose?
necessarily. Not necessarily. It's, as you just described, the magic that happens in between. So there may be a curriculum, but it may be something that they said to me that inspired me to push myself further or go on the path. I took an experimental filmmaking class, and we did some things that we probably would never use. It was one of the best classes because we really got to be creative. So your point on this, and then I'd like to make a point.
Well, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say most teachers, most professors, most people at on the podium side of the educational experience are horrible, and I'll tell you why. It all ties in together with the theme here. It's because their view of education is the person who has the most information to spew is the best teacher. In this model, education is about spewing information, is about turning on the spigot of knowledge and like a fire hose and shooting it out, as opposed to what education really is about, which is about how that information is received. And it does not necessarily follow that the person with giving us the most information is necessarily the best at engaging us and making sure that we understand it. So, by that logic, then AI is the worst platform for giving us the best of college because it's only good at spewing information. And as we talk about all the time in this podcast and in our Udemy courses, much of what it spews is wrong. So just as truth is a value in journalism, which we talked about last time, truth is a paramount value in education. So if we're relying on AI just for that, it falls short. The bottom line is AI cannot and should not replace the college experience of being in person with people that we can learn from because it's just not as good at doing the things that are unique to the being in college.
Wonderful. And the article title was "What is College for in the Age of AI?" And the question I had was, what what do colleges feel their role in general is? What are they selling exactly? Are they selling an experience? Are they selling a piece of paper that people can get so they can move to the next level? Are they selling that you're going to get a job? they may be trying to sell all three of those,
Well, now
or at
let's look at
least
that concept of selling, because I know that the marketing departments of universities, the presidents of universities that are responsible for bringing in revenue and so forth, would buy into this. But I'll tell you one group of people who do not buy into the concept of selling, except maybe for business professors, and that is the rest of the faculty. They don't view what they, and I was a professor, we didn't view what we did as selling anything. We're there to impart wisdom and to promote learning on behalf of the students, to bring people into the fold, if you will, and in fact, more than anything, and George Carlin talked about this several times, the purpose of education is not to teach people what to think, but how to think. It's imparting critical skills, critical thinking ability. And you can tell looking at how the world is today and how politics is today, that it's a distinctive lack of the ability to think through critically through the information that we're presented that is at the heart of so many of the problems in the world today.
well, I've talked to college professors who are working right now, and they tell me that a piece of what they're supposed to do in this job is to talk to potential donors and do things that drive revenue. They're expected to do it.
Who
Obviously, it
told who
depends
told you
what level.
this?
Well, actually, it's somebody at the dean level.
Well,
At a
then that is understandable, but at the faculty level, I would be extremely surprised. Not only would they not buy into that, I think they would be repulsed by that idea. They know that
Interesting.
obviously that there have to be sales for them to have a job, but that's not what they view as their mission, to sell things, to bring
Got
in
it.
revenue. That is absolutely not their function
Now,
in a
as
liberal
we
arts
tie
college.
as we tie a bow on this, there's the ethical angle. This is AI ethics today. And to me, and I'll let you put the bookend on this, the ethical angle is, what is the university or college promising? And
Yes.
are they, and whether we're talking about it in the age of AI or any disruption, this is the most recent disruption. And is this what people are paying for?
Good, good,
I
good,
think
good, good.
that's what
Because
the
we talked
ethical.
about the second principle of ethical intelligence, make things better. What does that mean in the context of education? Does making things better mean becoming smarter? I asked a friend of mine who was 1 year ahead of me, who went to my college. I asked him at the end of his first year, how did he feel? And he said, I feel smarter. Well, if you say that, it just seemed like a strange thing to say. I feel smarter because Socrates said, the only thing I know is that I don't know anything. So I'm not sure that the purpose of education is to acquire as much knowledge as you can, the way that the purpose of being in business is to acquire as much capital as you can. Rather, it might be to have as many enriching experiences. And again, going back to the late philosopher George Carlin, is to learn how to think critically about things and to question authority, to question the things that are presented to us as fact.
Well, I think when we talk about ethical issues, universities, colleges, higher education, places of higher education need to figure out what the promise is and what people are getting. And all of this could change as we have new AI universities, whatever that means, on the way. I think we'll leave it there, Bruce. Until next week.